companies are eliminating formative entry-level jobs, the work handed over to artificial intelligence.
The AI robots coming for blue-collar positions as well. It is not looking good either way.
Disrupt America till I fuck.
Weird thing to happen. We know that AI technology is moving rapidly. It's moving at a fast pace that human beings can't even keep up to. And it is looking more and more devastating as we get further and further advancing to this AI technology. And while people are in this trance or in this kind of almost like a brainwash mode to put the blame on migrants, to put the blame on immigration, hence all the ICE riots, hence why so many of the mega crowd is cheering on, blasting through the doors of Home Depot to snatch employees or go to the farm fields and snatch people picking your crops. What they don't realize, and people are starting to wake up to this, but more and more people need to wake up to this, is behind closed doors, the corporations, the corporate estate is already fast-tracking the means to eliminate human beings in the workforce. That's not a hyperbole. That's not a science fiction term. This is what is happening in reality. So you may have seen articles like this before where this is a bleak warning. And it says halfway through 2025, AI has already replaced 94,000 tech workers. 507 tech workers lose their jobs to AI every day in 2025. Complete breakdown of 94,000 job losses across Microsoft, Tesla, IBM, and Meta, plus which positions are next. So it's become more and more common that tech sector work, coding, all these white collar positions that used to be the up and up, people would get them and get, good sized salary, is being eliminated through AI, through this modernization, transformation into robotics, into automation. And this is what is so concerning, and why this whole idea of migrants stealing your jobs, that narrative, is completely dead on arrival, is because the corporate estate is the ones that have the ultimate power and say on who they hire and what kind of workforce they want to lay out for the companies. So if they're going to exploit people, if they're going to exploit you to hire migrants at a cheaper rate, that's the power of the corporation. That's not the migrant's fault. That's not the individual's fault that just wants to work and be able to survive and pay for, have a decent living. It's the corporate estate. It's the corporations. It's the companies that have the ultimate power. The employer has the ultimate power of who they hire and who they fire. So as people are getting angry at the migrants and migrants getting angry at people, this is happening behind closed doors. That's going to affect everybody. Everybody. And this is the deep, dark warning that people are at least starting to pick up on. Here's another article. This is from ABC 7 News. Tech CEO warns AI will eliminate jobs. What can you do to protect your career? And that's really the ultimate question. What can we do to remind companies the importance of having human labor, the importance of having individuals at these job placements? I have been saying for quite an extensive long time, since we've known about AI, that yes, there are some benefits. Yes, I understand people want to use AI technology. There's a lot of great things with it. It's a lot of good resources. I even use AI tools. I ask Grok and Siri and Copilot for different research methods. I look at using AI for editing. So I understand that, yes, AI has a lot of fascination, has a lot of tools. It's helps, people, better process things. At the same time, though, AI should not eliminate the element of actual human contact. It should not eliminate a person. AI is a tool. The same way that you can build a house better with a hammer, but I'm not asking a hammer to build a house for me. That's what AI should be. It can help with your productivity. It can help you manage things. It can make your life a bit easier, but it should not be an overall replacement for human society. But these tech billionaires, the Palantirs, Meta, Elon Musk, all these tech bros with their billions of dollars and their philanthropy want to replace you. They want to replace human life. And this is the ultimate goal, that having these migrants take in and replace you is the gateway leading into this, leading into AI, robots, and automation completely replacing actual human work. Now, they're telling you that, oh, well, it's only white collar positions, so anything in skilled trades, any blue collar work, they seem to be okay, right? They seem to be okay. Well, the sad part is the AI robots coming for blue collar positions as well. This is from Forbes magazine. It is not looking good either way. This is not looking good whatsoever. And this is causing so much of a ruckus in today's job market. We are seeing people graduating from college. They can't even get part-time work. They can't even get summer jobs. Here in Canada, it's the same thing. National unemployment is at 7% and continuing to climb as more and more positions are being eradicated through transformation, through corporate restructuring into incorporating AI. It is an absolute mess. It is an absolute mess. And this is why, in a previous segment, we talked about UBI, why it is so necessary to have a conversation about UBI, to have a conversation about how is humanity, how is their society going to survive if AI and robotics are going to replace the workforce. People need to still make a living. People still need to pay bills. They need to have an income somewhere. How is that going to work? How are we going to survive if we don't have jobs, if we don't have provided income? That's why UBI is such a good initiative. But now, because of who's behind controls of the UBI and the Canadian government announcing that, oh, we might do a UBI program, but the gimmick is you're going to have to surrender yourself to an open banking system, meaning that we get to decide your finances. We get to decide if you have a bank account or not. We get to decide what food you're allowed to purchase. We get to decide. The same people responsible for cutting off the finances of truckers and people participating in the Freedom Convoy are going to be responsible for giving you UBI as AI robotics is replacing the workforce. This is not hyperbole. This is not a joke. This is ultimately coming, and it's faster than people can believe. This is not 10 years from now. This is happening in months. This is happening in months, that the AI technology, the robotics, the mass amount of technological change is coming so fast that human society cannot adapt. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations right now before it's too late, before there's the absolute transformation and human society doesn't know what to do. So in comes this. This is where it gets really daunting. So a little closer to home here. Rogers. Rogers, one of the biggest mass communication industries here in Canada. They are a very large company. They own media. They have the Rogers Place, Rogers Stadium. They are a very vast enterprise of telecommunications within Canada, next to Bell, which I think is the largest. So Rogers, I think, is second. Either way, they're a fairly large conglomerate. So this came about. This is from this person here, Shazi. Says Rogers laid off 1,000 plus call center workers after secretly using them to train AI that would replace them. Workers say they have been silenced, overworked, underpaid, and discarded. This wasn't cost cutting. This is a calculated corporate execution. So, a disgruntled employee, let's bring this up here. A disgruntled employee wrote about this and wrote it in this, I believe it's Reddit here that they wrote it in. And it says, to everyone laid off, I am part of the 1,000+ agents in Rogers that are being laid off and would like to be heard and actually have a voice for once. Why has management specifically told us to stay quiet and not to go to the media about this? Because they know this is wrong on so many levels and pure scum what has taken place. They do not want the public to find out how they shamelessly did this to solely benefit themselves, while you, as a customer, will get far, far worse customer service with much longer wait times, incompetent AI agents that send you around in loops, and no human interaction. I know that feeling personally. I have dealt with Rogers. I have dealt with Bell. One of my biggest pet peeves on earth is dealing with a call center. I absolutely despise calling a tech support line. Like, I would rather not have to deal with it at all. Anytime I have to dial an 800 number, I'm already pissed off. That's the kind of person I am. I am already pissed off if I have to dial an 800 number, go through the motions, go through the automated messaging, go through all the hoops and ladders to get to actually talk to some individual, and then realize that individual doesn't work in the section or the office that I'm looking for. Like, it's just an absolute mess. So, but this is going to be worse. This is going to be worse because now there is no person. There is no person. So how am I actually going to have an interaction with an actual human being and have a human being understand my frustration when it's going to be a robot at the other end? Like, this is so insane. This is absolutely insane. Starting last year, we were forced to use this AI summary tool to make our jobs easier. But the reality all along was they needed us to train the AI, and we were strategically plotting our demise of replacing us. We were exploited and taken advantage of. I and everyone else originally applied for one position, in my case for wireless services, to mainly with cell phones, and I would eventually get trained for another department when another came which I had no choice to say in. This happened to everyone, where Rogers heavily increased the workload and productivity of the employee without any increase in pay or anything beneficial for us. We get treated like a number and we're expected to work nonstop talking back-to-back calls like a robot. They also reduce the after-call work time, an optional setting that gives you time before your next call in case you have to finish notes, deep breaths, washroom, etc., from 30 seconds to only 12 seconds. Again, it is an optional setting, so if you don't select it, we literally get another call instantaneously after the current call ends. This is also a massive amount of unpaid commissions from sales that I and many others have never received still to this day. But it's been hard to prove as we are not allowed cell phones and we can't take screenshots or pictures of consumer accounts orders due to privacy and security reasons. We have been shown how little they value us with all the lies, deception, and lives they have destroyed, so it's time for us to finally be heard. If you're someone at Rogers who was or is getting laid off and would like to add this to your or even take action, please don't hold back. So that to me in a clinical sense is a very dickish move from one of the largest telecom giants in the country. Like, all the time, elbows up, all this time of Canada proud. We're supporting Canadians. And this happens. Everyone's angry about migrants coming in, and this happens. So, either way, either way, these corporations, the billionaire class, they despise you so much that they will instantaneously replace you with a robot as soon as possible. The migrants, the mass amount of people coming into the country and taking over positions is just the gateway to transform real working class people that are working aimlessly, that just want to make a decent living. They'll work any job necessary to make a living. They want to replace that with automation, with AI, and completely discard you. Because that is the ultimate dream of someone like this, of someone at the head of Rogers, the head of Bell, the head of these tech industries, the head of places like Tim Hortons. Don't think that, entry-level jobs are not already replaced by AI. There's a reason why there's self-checkouts at everywhere you go. There's a reason why they're pushing people to use AI and train themselves at certain stores to check themselves out. It's just so crazy. It's absolutely so crazy. The whole purpose of going out to a restaurant or going out to a fast food joint or even shopping is to have interactions with people, interaction with the workers. If we're just replacing them with robots, what's the point of even having these businesses? Might as well just do everything online. Might as well just shop everything online at that point. It is the utmost ridiculous notion. And it is also happening more and more in the United States here. And this was even brought to attention. This is from CBS News that pointed this out. They pointed this out, and this is affecting now with college students and high school students graduating, looking for summer employment, maybe to save some money, to start school or to save money to start a life and get on to the workforce, which a lot of people, they say that the millennials and younger generation are just too lazy. Well, they're actively looking for work, but AI, along with migrants, along with the corporate restructuring, is making that more and more impossible. So watch what CBS News had to say about this.
New college grads has recently surged, and some economists say businesses are now replacing entry-level jobs with artificial intelligence. Here's CBS's Ali Bauman.
Front gate.
22-year-old Michael Macaluso just earned his degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Connecticut.
You all good?
But this summer, he's back helping manage his hometown pool. He hasn't found a job in his field despite applying for nearly 200 positions.
Did you have any expectations about what the job market would be like when you graduated?
I was told by a lot of people that I was going to get a job right out of college, and then all of a sudden, there's no jobs.
New research finds now, for the first time ever, the unemployment rate among recent college graduates has exceeded the national unemployment rate, ballooning to 6.6% over the past 12 months. Oxford Economics' Matthew Martin.
This kind of goes against what you would expect. Those with higher educational attainment usually have better employment prospects than those with less educational attainment.
Martin's team believes.
See, that rhetoric there, that's, I think, people grown up to so much. That was kind of the talk of the town that, well, if you just go to college, get these fancy degrees, you're shoo-in to get jobs. That's what they want. They want credentials. They want credibility. They want people with the highest skills, the highest skill set. But even people with the highest skill set cannot look for employment. Not because they're not smart enough to do so, or adequate enough to do so, or they just not too lazy or part of the generation, whatever the case may be. It really comes down to the corporate estate, the corporations, the companies purposely exploiting this measure, making the job market so tight and so obvious to people that they're exploiting people to transform the entire industries to automation, so that they can eliminate more and more people out of the workforce. So it saves them money, so they don't have to pay labor costs. So God forbid someone has to use the bathroom, they don't have to worry about that with a robot. They don't have to worry about sick days or vacation day or treating you like a person.
companies are eliminating formative entry-level jobs. The work handed over to artificial intelligence. Tech companies are leading the way.
AI is permeating every aspect of our lives.
Nariman Farvardin, the president of Stevens Institute of Technology, says his school has been preparing for the AI revolution for the last 10 years. He expects disruption throughout the workforce will be bigger than the disturbance brought on by the introduction of the internet, and it could last up to 15 years.
I think AI has the potential to either augment or maybe totally replace jobs that are physically or cognitively repetitive. These jobs are not only done by entry people. There are certain people who do repetitive things for all of their life. Those jobs are in jeopardy.
Kaylee Totlin just graduated from Stevens with her computer science degree. She did an internship with Verizon as a sophomore, and the company has now hired her.
I think something that's important with entry-level jobs is the networking and the opportunities that you make from it.
Farvardin says his message to students today is the same as it always has been. Get an education that will last a lifetime.
We don't try to teach our students skills. We try to teach students a way to learn on their own for the rest of their lives.
He says workers who innovate alongside AI won't get left behind. Ali Bauman, CBS News.
So that was kind of a mixed take of it, because they tell people that, yes, the market is so terrible. Yes, you going to college and getting this education doesn't really matter in the workplace at this point, because let's face it, advancing technology is going to be more adaptive, more transparent, more advanced than any degree you can get from a university or college at this point. Yet they still want people to go down that route. And, I'm not dissing the whole college university education thing. I'm a college graduate myself. I think there's a good opportunity. There's good experiences to being in post-secondary education. But understand how transformative the industries are becoming, how AI is being generated in. Like I said, I personally have no problems with AI tools that makes things more productive, but it shouldn't be an overall replacement. And that is what's so daunting about this whole entire thing. It's not the fact that AI is advancing. It's the fact that corporations, whoever's in control of the AI technology, they're the ones that are deviously trying to replace you. They're deviously trying to eliminate the workforce because they view you as nothing. They don't treat you as a human being. They don't treat you as an employee. They treat you worse than dirt. That's why they ultimately started replacing you with cheap labor. That's why all the migrants came in. That's where H-1B visas came in. That's where they started laying off people and union busting people because they didn't view you enough to make a decent living. Back in the 80s, back in the 70s, back when people actually had money and could actually work a single job and be able to afford a house, raise a family, and maybe a car, that was the dream. That was the dream. And now it just seems like such a mirage at this point because we're getting further and further away from the American dream. As George Carlin says, the reason why it's called the American dream at this point is because you have to be asleep to even notice it. Because right now, it is just, at this time, things are not looking good. Things are not looking good for the average person, which is why it's important to have these conversations of UBI and how we're going to survive further on. If AI is going to ultimately replace a lot of this work, how are people going to survive? Where's the income going to come in? How are we going to manage if people don't have the ability to make a decent living, if their decent living is being replaced by automation, being replaced by a robot, being replaced by coding? How are they going to make a decent living? How is humanity going to survive? How is the economy going to survive if people don't have the income coming in to be able to afford to maintain life? That's the ultimate thing here. And here, is Peter Thiel the creme of the crop when it comes to AI? Because this is the guy running Palantir that's going to make an ultimate AI surveillance tool to track every American and sell it globally, by the way. They're trying to pitch this to Canada. They're trying to pitch this to the UK, that they are going to be the ultimate company for surveillance and monitoring for all the countries around the world. And Peter Thiel was asked this question about human beings, which I think is actually a very serious question coming from a tech bro like him, coming from a guy who masters in AI, masters in this, idea of replacing human work and human labor to robots and machinery, saying it's more productive, saying it's more advanced. What does Peter Thiel's vision of the future look like? And he was asked this in a podcast, and watch how Peter Thiel responds to it.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
this is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so, it's always, I don't know, transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or I don't know, transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your, penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self. And so
if this sounds eerie to you, or you kind of get this kind of feeling that you've heard this dark term before, transhumanism, how it's not about just trading your organs from a schlong into, a ding-dong. It's about the exact agenda of the World Economic Forum and BlackRock, people like Larry Fink. That's the whole reason we have all these measures. That's the reason DEI exists. The whole reason for the woke agenda is primarily for this, because we need to transform people's minds. We need to transform people's souls, their identity. You are no longer an individual person. In their view, they see you as a guinea pig, a lab rat, a test subject. So we need to transform people to different scenarios to see how they'll react and if they will respond accordingly to our agenda, if they're compliant enough to respond to our agenda, or if they're non-compliant enough, then we have to do something about it. That's what BlackRock does. That's what the WF is doing. And that's what Peter Thiel is ultimately doing. So this guy that you think is some sort of outsider because, oh, look at him. He's wearing a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers and he works with Donald Trump. So he's definitely doing something against the deep state. No, Peter Thiel is part of the deep state. Donald Trump is part of the deep state. It's a fraction. It's a little fraction inside the greater deep state conglomeracy used to manipulate and control you. That's what all this comes down to. And that's where Peter Thiel is having this dilemma of answering a question, should the human race survive? He's like, well, yeah, I don't want to sound like a complete psychopath and sound like the devil himself, but yeah, I guess. But at the same time, It'd be nice if just robots took over and solved all these problems. That's what's so sickening about this. That's what's so sickening about this, that these tech bros, they think are like cute and nerdy. Oh, look at me, I'm in a sweater vest and just program and provide social media people. This is their ultimate philosophy. This is their ultimate philosophy, that they have no obligations. They live in their own fantasy world, that they don't see people as actual people, as actual human beings with deep emotions, with different opinions. They just see them as test subjects. They just see them as like an experiment. And that's where you get people like Bill Gates. That's where you get Elon Musk. That's where you get people like Mark Zuckerberg incorporating their industries into these heinous agendas that involve mutilation, that involve transformation, that involve mind control, that involve, injecting poisons into each other. It is just so barbaric that this is even happening. And people need to be aware of this. If anyone knows anything about Whitney Webb's work, she illustrates perfectly about how Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Bill Gates, and this is all part of the tech conglomeracy. This is all part of the PayPal mafia, designed to program to initiate attacks against humanity. This is all part of the agenda. This is all part of the deep state oligarch New World agenda, but they're masquerading, they're in disguise to make it look like, oh, I'm just the average MAGA supporter. I just care about America so much. That's why I want to take all their information and surveil you and monitor you for the sake of America. Let's see the rest of this, actually.
So, right, but the other wait. I generally agree with what I think is your belief, that religion should be a friend to science and ideas of scientific progress. I think any idea of divine providence has to encompass the fact that we have progressed and achieved and done things that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors. But it still also seems like, the promise of Christianity in the end is you get the perfected body and the perfected soul through God's grace. And the person who tries to do it on their own with a bunch of machines is likely to end up as a dystopian character.
Well,
and the problem with that is individuals like Peter Thiel and so many of these tech billionaires idolize themselves as God. They idolize themselves as immortal. They are the ones with the ultimate power and influence to make these radical changes, not just from, individual groups or certain countries, but do global-wide transformations. Again, you look at where DEI comes from. You look at where the woke agenda comes from. That's all from BlackRock, which owns 80 to 90% of the stock markets on the S&P 500. They have infiltrated themselves in all these major corporations, hence why a lot of these major corporations do these crazy radical changes in their structure, including incorporating AI to replace human work. This is all part of this. This is all part of this New World Agenda 2.0 technocracy that's going to turn our society into a feudalist state. That you are no longer a person with ideals and morals and opinions that are mostly yours. You are now a slave to the digital age. You are now a puppet and a test subject to the digital age. That's where all the IDs are coming in. That's where they're trying to push, digital currency. They're trying to, bribe people. Hey, now that, your job is going to be taken away by robots, we'll give you that UBI that we promised years ago, but you're going to have to surrender yourself to an open bank system that we have full access and control of. This is the ultimate warning. This is the ultimate warning, and this is why it's so important for people to understand that. It's not the migrants that are stealing your jobs. It's not, people on the lesser economic scale worsening people a little higher up on the economic scale. It's not left versus right. It's the oligarchs versus you. It's people like him who have ultimate authority over you, and you, an individual that this guy, this creep, doesn't have any obligation to observe you or respect you as an individual. That's where it ultimately comes from. Why it's so difficult for him to answer a question like, should the human race survive with all the AI technology advances? And he's like, yes, I guess. I guess I don't want to sound like too much of a deviant Luciferic mind. I don't want to sound like a serial killer, but yeah, I guess. But I really want to advance this AI technology because, frankly, I don't give a damn about anyone else. That's what's really sickening about this. Really is sickening. And people should be on high alert to understand that. Understand that the real enemies are not individuals. They're not citizens in another country. Real enemies are people like Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Warren Buffett and Larry Ellison. All these individuals. That's why Trump gave them this unbelievable amount of money and power and influence to control America. That's where ultimately Doge was leading to. They were trying to open up the crates of all this information that was supposed to be private from the American public, of their medical records. They opened it up and gave it to these tech bros that are going to transform it. Meaning that's going to be an AI monitoring system controlled by them to decide the fate of you. And if you do not comply, then they'll view you as a problem and they will deal with you severely. That is ultimately how, just again, it's not a hyperbole, it's not sci-fi. This is the reality, and people need to be high alert to understand that.